So AI isn't some far-off futuristic concept anymore, is it?
No, not at
Like,
all.
by 2025, certainly by 2027, it's not just important, it's becoming, well, absolutely essential for businesses.
Right.
We've been digging into a stack of research, looking at companies facing some genuinely critical, maybe even desperate problems, and how AI is stepping in with what the reports call high ROI solutions.
And that's the key, isn't it? High ROI. We're not talking small returns here.
No, the numbers we're seeing are 10 times, 100 times.
Yeah.
Some reports even go up to 300 times or more on investment. It's pretty staggering.
That's the core shift, really. It's moving beyond just experimentation or, cool innovation.
Yeah.
Businesses are realizing AI can tackle their most painful, urgent problems and unlock massive, measurable value.
And this deep dive is all about unpacking where AI is delivering those biggest returns right now and, in the next couple of years.
Exactly.
We've pulled insights from industry reports, research papers, even conversations happening on the ground in places like Reddit and X.
Our mission here is basically to give you a shortcut to understanding that crucial intersection.
Right.
Where are businesses feeling the most pain? Where can AI deliver incredible ROI as a result? And maybe most importantly, what do you really need to consider?
Things like the tech options, the competition,
Yeah.
the regulatory landscape.
And the practicalities, yeah. How do you actually make it work to capitalize on this?
Okay, let's jump right into it then. What exactly is driving this sense of urgency, this AI imperative right now?
Yeah.
What's behind this convergence of desperation and high ROI?
Well, it's exactly that, a powerful convergence. The places where AI is being adopted fastest and, frankly, most successfully are where businesses have significant pain points, those challenges keeping executives up at night.
Sure.
And crucially, where AI isn't just, improving things slightly, but creating substantial new value and delivering those dramatic ROIs we talked about.
And this isn't niche anymore, is it? The whole global business environment is shifting.
Absolutely. AI is moving from a supplementary tool to a core part of strategy. McKinsey Research, for instance, projects the long-term opportunity just from AI use cases within companies at something like $4.4 trillion in added productivity potential. Trillion.
Wow, that's huge. And we're already seeing numbers that point in that direction.
We are. Across industries, reports are showing companies getting an average of, say, $3.50 in value for every single dollar spent on AI.
Okay.
And for the early adopters, especially with generative AI, the anticipated returns are even higher, sometimes up to like 9.3 times ROI.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Take customer support.
Yep.
Using AI there can lead to reported 30% cost cuts and, get this, a staggering 400% boost in agent productivity.
400%.
Yeah.
Those kinds of returns become incredibly attractive, especially when businesses are grappling with things like persistent labor shortages.
Right. That's a big one.
And escalating supply chain disruptions that mess everything up.
Constantly.
The sheer cost and time involved in R&D, especially in certain industries.
Pharma, for example.
Yeah. And customers who just, they demand more now, more personalized, faster service.
Exactly. It's pushing investment dramatically. The global AI market is projected to be over $240 billion this year alone.
Growing fast.
Yeah. Some industries are seeing adoption grow up to 20% annually. By 2025, the estimate is 75% of firms will be using AI in some way.
Up from 55% just last year.
That's right. And looking out a bit further, towards 2027, a huge 92% of companies say they plan to increase their AI investments.
That level of planned investment really tells you just how indispensable AI is becoming. So where exactly is this happening? Let's drill down into these high ROI, maybe desperate markets.
Good idea. Let's start with manufacturing. The pain points here are really tangible, really physical, especially when it comes to keeping machines running smoothly and ensuring product quality. We're looking specifically at predictive maintenance, or PDM.
Right, PDM.
And automated quality control, QC.
Unplanned downtime. That's a huge one in manufacturing, isn't it?
Math.
I saw a stat, something like 82% of companies experience it.
Yeah.
And each time it happens, it's like 4 hours of lost production on average. That's got to be incredibly costly.
Absolutely. Crippling sometimes. And you add to that the labor shortages we mentioned.
Right.
Estimates suggest a potential shortfall of maybe 1 million manufacturing workers in the U.S. alone by 2025. Finding skilled maintenance staff, It's tough.
And expensive.
And expensive. Maintenance costs keep rising. And the old ways, manual quality checks. They're slow, costly, and honestly, they miss defects.
Plus, with volatile supply chains, you really need to squeeze every last drop of efficiency and reliability out of the equipment you do have. You can't afford downtime.
This is precisely where AI delivers powerful, measurable ROI for predictive maintenance, or PDM.
Yeah.
AI uses data from sensors attached right onto the equipment, things like vibration, temperature, even acoustic patterns.
Listening to the machine.
Kind of, yeah. Combined with machine learning, it predicts exactly when a machine is likely to fail before it actually breaks down.
And the results?
Yeah.
Compelling.
Very. Companies are seeing reductions in unplanned downtime by as much as 50%. We saw specific cases reporting 40% cuts.
That's significant.
It is. Maintenance costs can drop by 25% to 40%, and they're extending equipment lifespans significantly, often by 20% to 40%.
So the machines last longer, too.
Exactly. It also boosts overall manufacturing efficiency, what they measure as overall equipment effectiveness, or OEE, by 5% to 15%. And it makes the maintenance teams themselves up to 55% more efficient. There's even potential for energy savings as equipment runs more optimally.
And the payback. Is it fast?
Often, yeah. Measurable ROI often shows up within, say, 3 to 12 months. We even saw one case reporting 150% ROI within that kind of time frame.
Wow, okay. And the other area, quality control.
Right, automated QC. Here, AI uses computer vision and deep learning to perform visual inspections right on the production line.
So like robot eyes checking the products.
Pretty much. Checking products much faster and, crucially, more consistently than a human eye can manage, especially over long shifts.
Yeah, and this leads to fewer defects.
Definitely. Reports show defect rates reduced by 28% to 32%. That means less scrap, less rework, more consistent product quality for the customer, and lower labor costs for inspection. Some systems are reporting over 99% accuracy.
Incredible. Are there other AI applications in manufacturing popping up?
Yeah, beyond those two core areas, AI is also being used for things like generative design.
Where the AI helps design parts.
Exactly. Algorithms help optimize product structures. And with cobots, collaborative robots that work alongside humans, actually 53% of manufacturing specialists apparently prefer working with them.
Interesting.
And we're also seeing AI applied more to supply chain optimization within manufacturing itself. Nearly half of companies are investing in AI for things like inventory management and using data analytics to get better visibility.
Does this match what you see people talking about online, like on Reddit?
It does. In communities like Reddit's or manufacturing, you see the frustration, people talking about downtime, the struggle to integrate new tech with old legacy factory systems.
Yeah, the integration headache.
Big time. Dealing with scattered data, data silos, and the real challenge of upskilling their existing workforce on these new technologies.
And on platforms like LinkedIn.
Similar themes: reliability managers, operations folks. They're actively discussing the need to move from just reacting to failures to proactively predicting them. And they're definitely looking for AI solutions that are practical, easy to implement, and show clear, fast ROI.
So who are the key decision makers we're talking about here?
Yeah.
Who needs to sign off on this?
Yeah, it's often plant managers, heads of operations, maintenance and quality assurance leaders.
Yeah.
Also, C-suite executives like COOs and CTOs get involved.
And for smaller manufacturers.
For SMEs, it's often the owners or general managers themselves. They're focused laser sharp on survival, competitiveness, efficiency gains. The sector's high AI adoption rate, over 77%, tells you they're definitely ready to invest.
Okay, that makes sense for manufacturing. Let's shift gears now to another sector where you see that desperation meeting high ROI, potential healthcare and pharmaceuticals.
Right. The challenges might look different on the surface, but the potential for AI is just as groundbreaking, maybe even more so.
What are the big pressures there?
Oh, the pressure is immense. It's driven largely by the incredible cost and, frankly, the time involved in drug discovery.
Yeah, that takes forever.
It does. And the sheer administrative burden smothering healthcare systems. Think about it. Developing one new drug takes, what, 10 to 15 years?
And costs billions, right?
Over $2 billion on average. And here's the kicker. More than 90% of drug candidates fail during clinical trials. That's a huge, costly bottleneck.
90% failure rate.
Wow.
And then there's the data issue in healthcare itself.
Exactly. Healthcare systems are practically drowning in data, patient records, imaging scans, research data, you name it.
But it's all locked up.
Often, yeah. Siloed in different systems, different formats, making it incredibly difficult to pull together and analyze effectively.
And the admin load. You hear doctors complaining about paperwork all the time.
It's a massive drain. Healthcare providers spend huge amounts of time on manual tasks, documentation, scheduling, billing, getting those painful insurance prior authorizations.
Ugh, prior auths.
Tell me about it. At one hospital system, Atlanticare, they found providers were spending over an hour every single day just on documentation.
An hour a day, just writing notes.
Yep. Plus, you have complex, constantly changing regulations to navigate and the growing demand for personalized medicine, which requires analyzing vast amounts of individual patient data effectively.
So a lot of pressure. How does AI step in here? What's the potential ROI?
Well, it offers potentially revolutionary changes and massive ROI. Take drug discovery and development.
Okay.
AI can analyze these enormous data sets, genomic data, chemical libraries, clinical trial results much faster than humans can. It identifies promising drug targets, helps design molecules, predicts how effective or toxic they might be, and even optimizes the design of clinical trials.
And the results are tangible, speeding things up.
Absolutely. We're seeing acceleration in preclinical research timelines by maybe 25% to 50%. There are cases like Exscientia and Sumitomo. They got an AI-designed drug into clinical trials in under 12 months.
Compared to what normally?
Compared to a typical 4 or 5 years. Another company, In Silico Medicine, took a candidate to phase I trials in just 9 months.
That's a game changer.
It really is. This speed drastically reduces R&D costs, potentially billions saved, and increases the probability of actually finding viable drug candidates that make it through. Some forecasts suggest AI could contribute to 30% of all new drug discoveries by 2025.
30%, okay. What about the regulatory side? All that paperwork for approvals.
AI is streamlining that too. It can automate checks for electronic submissions like the ECTD format. It can analyze past regulatory queries to help companies anticipate questions.
Sort of predict what the FDA might ask.
Kind of, yeah. And it monitors changes in guidelines automatically.
Does that translate to faster approvals?
It seems so. One mid-sized pharma company reported their submission prep was 60% faster and approvals came through 25% quicker. That saved them over $80,000 per resubmission cycle.
Wow.
They also saw responses from health authorities come back about 30% faster, with 50% fewer follow-up questions needed. Saves everyone time and hassle.
And back in the hospital or clinic, the admin automation.
Huge potential there. AI can automate tasks like transcribing prescriptions, handling patient scheduling, creating documentation automatically from doctor-patient conversations.
Like listening in and writing the note.
Exactly. Ambient listening technology, plus processing billing and those prior authorizations.
So that hour a day on documentation
could shrink dramatically. Reports show documentation time can be cut by 41% with AI tools. That ambient mic tech, it can turn maybe 2 hours of manual charting into just 15 minutes of review and sign-off.
That frees up so much time for actual patient care.
It does. Johns Hopkins and Microsoft Azure AI estimated that this kind of administrative automation could save the U.S. healthcare system somewhere between $200 and $360 billion.
Billion with a B.
Yes. With potential overall U.S. savings maybe up to $150 billion annually across the board. It also improves billing accuracy, reduces denied claims, and cuts down errors. One lab saw a 40% reduction in workflow errors using AI.
What about clinical trials themselves, beyond the drug discovery part?
AI is optimizing those too. Improving patient recruitment, which is often a huge bottleneck, helping with trial design, managing the vast amounts of data generated. It leads to faster, less expensive trials. Automating data mapping for regulatory submissions significantly cuts down the time needed to finalize and lock clinical trial databases.
So who are the key people driving AI adoption in this sector?
It tends to be high-level folks. In pharma, you're looking at chief scientific officers, VPs of R&D, heads of discovery. In healthcare administration, it's often the hospital CEOs, CFOs, COOs, and maybe the chief medical information officers, the CMIOs. Executive buy-in is absolutely crucial here.
And what's the chatter online in those Reddit communities for biotech or pharmacy?
You see a mix. Definitely discussions around the practical challenges, getting high-quality data, avoiding bias, sorting the genuine potential from the hype, the need for rigorous validation.
Sure, healthy skepticism.
Exactly. But also real interest in how AI can help with day-to-day pharmacy tasks or the potential of future AI agents in healthcare settings.
And on LinkedIn, similar themes.
Yeah, among pharma and clinical trial professionals, discussions often highlight the difficulties of integrating AI with existing, often old, legacy systems. And navigating the complex regulations like Hep B for patient privacy is always a major topic. Finding people with the right skills is another challenge mentioned.
So for healthcare and pharma, it's really the combination of those incredibly high R&D costs and risks, plus the crushing administrative drag.
Right.
that makes AI solutions promising breakthroughs and efficiency gains just incredibly compelling.
Absolutely. It's a sector ripe for transformation.
Okay, our third major hotspot, retail and supply chain management. This is a sector that, it lives and breathes on thin margins and fierce competition, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They are constantly fighting battles on multiple fronts. Inventory mismanagement is a huge one.
Stockouts versus overstock.
Exactly. Stockouts mean lost sales, unhappy customers. Overstocking ties up precious cash, leads to waste, markdowns. It's a balancing act. Walmart reportedly cut their stockouts by 30% using a smart inventory system powered by AI.
30% is significant for a company that size. And forecasting demand must be harder than ever now.
Oh, incredibly hard. Traditional forecasting methods, often based on historical data alone, just can't keep up with today's volatile markets. And inaccurate forecasts directly lead to those inventory problems.
And pricing. That's always tricky in retail.
It is. Static pricing, keeping prices the same for long periods, means you miss opportunities. You miss chances to maximize revenue when demand spikes, or to move excess inventory quickly when demand drops.
Add in those unpredictable supply chain disruptions we keep hearing about.
Right.
And customers who expect everything personalized and delivered yesterday.
Yeah, it creates a perfect storm, a market desperately needing better tools.
So how does AI help here? What are the killer apps?
Well, AI offers incredibly powerful solutions. AI-powered demand forecasting is a big one. It looks at way more data points than traditional methods ever could.
Like what?
Historical sales, sure, but also market trends, seasonality, competitor actions, even things like weather forecasts, social media buzz, economic indicators.
Wow. Pulling all that together.
To predict future demand with much greater accuracy, reports show AI reducing forecast errors by over 30%.
And what's the impact of a better forecast?
It's huge. Just a 10% improvement in forecast accuracy can boost revenue by 2% to 3% and cut inventory levels by 20% to 30%. That flows directly to the bottom line, reducing carrying costs and stockouts.
Okay, forecasting is one. What else? Dynamic pricing.
Yes, AI-driven dynamic pricing is another key area. Algorithms automatically adjust prices, sometimes in real time, based on current demand, inventory levels, competitor pricing, even customer behavior patterns.
So maximizing profit on every sale.
Essentially, yeah, or clearing stock effectively. It can significantly increase total store sales and optimize inventory turnover. One retail client using SAP's AI tools saw their profit margins increase by 10%.
And the big one, Amazon.
Amazon attributes up to 35% of its massive revenue to its AI-powered recommendation engine and its dynamic pricing strategies.
35%, that's massive. What about the broader supply chain, beyond just forecasting and pricing?
AI is optimizing that too. Things like logistics, delivery routes, warehouse operations, even collaboration with suppliers.
Getting goods from A to B more efficiently.
Exactly. Many firms using AI in their supply chain strategy report revenue increases. AI can reduce transport costs, improve delivery times. Automating procurement tasks with AI can cut manual errors by 30% to 40%. And inventory optimization alone can slash carrying costs by 10% to 30%.
Who are the key decision makers in this space? VPs of supply chain.
Yes, VPs of supply chain and logistics are crucial. Also, inventory managers, merchandising managers, pricing managers, e-commerce directors. And of course, C-suite executives like CROs and CFOs are definitely involved, given the impact on profitability.
What are the typical frustrations you see discussed online, say, in supply chain forums?
A lot of talk about dealing with volatility, the limitations of using spreadsheets for complex forecasting.
Still using Excel for that.
Surprisingly often, yeah. Also, the need for better visibility across the whole chain. And again, the complexity of integrating new AI tools with older legacy ERP or warehouse management software. That integration piece keeps coming up.
And pricing discussions.
Often focus on managing those tight margins, intense competition, and the difficulty of figuring out the right promotional strategy without just giving away profit.
So for retail and supply chain, given that direct link between these pain points, inventory forecasting, pricing, and the bottom line,
Right.
AI is becoming less of a nice-to-have and more of a must-have.
Absolutely. It's becoming a necessity for staying competitive, managing costs, and ultimately growing the business in a really tough environment.
Okay, so we've identified these key markets, manufacturing, healthcare, retail, where businesses are feeling intense pressure and AI is delivering significant ROI.
Right.
The next logical question is, where geographically are they actually putting their money down for these solutions? We're talking about businesses willing to invest real budgets here.
Yeah, significant budgets. Reports show that enterprise AI maintenance contracts, for example, typically fall somewhere in the $5,000 to $20,000 per month range.
Okay, that's serious investment.
It is. And even impactful AI subscriptions for mid-sized businesses can be in the hundreds of euros or dollars monthly, so companies are paying for value.
And that investment isn't spread evenly across the globe, is it? Certain regions are emerging as clear hotspots.
Definitely. North America, particularly the US and Canada, is a definite leader right now.
Why is that?
Well, the U.S. is the largest AI market by investment dollars, projected over $109 billion in 2024. It also leads globally in developing those foundational AI models.
The big breakthroughs.
Exactly. And it ranks highest in overall AI readiness scores. Sector adoption is high across the board. Finance, tech, retail, healthcare are all strong.
Is it just the huge corporations, or are smaller companies getting involved?
While larger companies are often leading, we're seeing significant interest from mid-sized U.S. businesses, too, particularly in states known for innovation, like California, Massachusetts, Maryland, New Jersey, New York.
And are they seeing results?
Seems so. Over half, 52% of U.S. firms say they're very successful actually operationalizing AI, putting it to work. And the average reported ROI is around 43%.
What about Canada?
Canada also shows good enterprise adoption, around 37%, and the government there is actively supporting AI adoption for mid-sized businesses through grants and funding programs that can cover a big chunk of the project costs.
So encouraging SMEs to jump in.
Exactly. Reports show 93% of newer Canadian firms are likely using AI, and a similar percentage of surveyed SMEs reported revenue growth that they attributed to AI. Canadian organizations also report a 43% ROI, matching the U.S. figure.
Okay, so North America is strong. Where else is seeing major activity? Asia-Pacific.
Yes. Asia-Pacific is actually the fastest growing AI market globally. China is a massive player here.
How so?
China leads in national AI adoption rates, somewhere between 50–58%. And AI is projected to add a huge percentage to its GDP by 2030, like $4.8 trillion.
Wow.
They have a massive AI patent portfolio, a national plan backed by $150 billion in investment. Adoption is incredibly high in sectors like healthcare, 76%, and e-commerce, 92%. Really driven by strong government and large enterprise initiatives.
What about India?
India actually leads the world in the rate of AI deployment, around 57–59%. AI could add significantly to India's GDP too, maybe $1.3 trillion by 2030.
Are smaller businesses adopting there?
Mid-sized firms face some financial hurdles, but interest is very high. There are even government recommendations for subsidies. Adoption is really being driven by India's huge talent pool and its strength in global IT services and exports.
And Singapore? They always seem to be near the top in tech adoption.
They are. Very high AI readiness score, strong adoption with over half of large companies already deployed. Apparently 90% of government services there are already AI powered.
90%?
Yep. Sectoral adoption is strong, especially healthcare and finance. And again, significant government grants available for mid-sized companies to adopt AI. Almost all, 97% of Singaporean companies plan to invest more in AI in the next 12 months.
Australia, Japan, South Korea also involved?
Yes. Australia shows high overall AI adoption, with many having deployed generative AI at least partially. Japan and South Korea are significant players too, particularly strong in manufacturing and robotics in Japan, and ICT in South Korea. South Korea reports a solid 41% ROI.
Okay, let's look at Europe. The UK.
The UK is quite strong in AI safety governance, setting standards. Adoption is growing, about 15% of companies actively using AI, but many more planning to. Interestingly, the UK public sector is actually leading Europe in generative AI adoption, around 75%.
And mid-sized businesses in the UK.
They're catching up fast. Nearly half had integrated AI by 2024, which is a big jump from just 25% in 2022. Affordable cloud AI tools, like chatbots costing maybe €50, $300 a month, are making it much more accessible. The UK reports a 42% ROI. Pretty good.
Germany, known for its industry.
Right. About 1 in 5 German companies use AI now. They're very strong in industrial AI, that whole Industry 4.0 concept. Highest manufacturing adoption in Europe, actually, at 55%.
Any challenges?
They do report some infrastructure challenges holding things back a bit. Nearly 70% mention that. And their reported ROI is slightly lower than the global average, around 34%. France shows decent adoption in finance, ICT, and manufacturing, but their reported ROI is lower still at 31%, suggesting maybe they're still figuring out how to optimize their AI strategies for maximum return. Across the EU as a whole, enterprise adoption is growing, and it's definitely being shaped by regulations like the EU AI Act.
Any other hotspots? Middle East, Latin America.
Yes, the Middle East, particularly the UAE and Saudi Arabia, is becoming significant, fueled by major government initiatives like Saudi Vision 2030 and big investments aimed at smart cities and energy projects. Enterprises there are investing tens of thousands monthly in AI for infrastructure and energy. You see discussions on X about predictive analytics already showing efficiency gains in the energy sector.
And Latin America.
Growing adoption there, too, especially in Brazil and Mexico. Sectors like mobility and retail are active. We saw examples like companies saving over 8 hours per employee monthly using AI tools. Mid-sized firms are budgeting in that $5K to $10 monthly range for AI in areas like customer service and supply chain. Online discussions in places like Reddit's Ellen Business show interest in practical tools like route optimization for logistics.
So it seems like where the investment happens is driven by a combination of factors. Government support, how acute those business pain points are.
Right.
Existing digital infrastructure, available talent, and crucially, seeing proof of ROI from others in their region or sector. That social proof matters.
Absolutely. Understanding these hot spots and why they're investing is really key, whether you're someone offering AI solutions or a business looking to adopt them.
Okay, so that leads perfectly into the practical side. How do you actually approach businesses in these markets? How do you navigate their journey to adopting AI? It's not like selling widgets, right?
Not at all. Successfully engaging these companies isn't just about having, cool tech. It requires really understanding their specific problems, knowing who makes the decisions, and it's often not just one person, and navigating what can be a pretty complex buying process for something like AI.
So, first step, finding the right people. Who are they and where do you find them?
You need to target the people who own the pain points we've been talking about. VPs of operations, maintenance, or quality in manufacturing. Heads of R&D or C-suite execs in pharma and healthcare. Supply chain VPs, pricing managers, e-commerce directors, and retail.
And where are they hanging out online?
LinkedIn is obviously huge, especially within specific industry groups. Monitoring industry forums or even relevant hashtags on X like hashtag predictive maintenance or hashtag AI drug discovery can reveal who's actively talking about these problems and looking for solutions. Company websites and blogs sometimes highlight their challenges too.
Okay, so you found the right person or people. How do you get their attention? What's the pitch?
You have to focus relentlessly on quantifiable value,
Yeah.
on ROI. Don't just say, our AI improves efficiency. That's too vague.
That's specific.
Exactly. Translate the AI capabilities directly into the business outcomes they care about. Our AI can cut unplanned downtime by 40%, saving your plant approximately X dollars annually. Or this AI platform accelerates drug screening from years to months, significantly impacting your time to market and potential revenue.
Use concrete examples.
Yeah.
Like the ones we mentioned.
Absolutely. Mentioning how Microsoft 365 Copilot saved Modin over 2,000 hours a month makes the value instantly understandable and believable. Use case studies.
And connect it back to their desperation.
Yes. Position AI as the direct solution to their biggest headaches. The labor shortages, the R&D bottlenecks, the supply chain chaos. Frame it not just as innovation, but as a strategic tool for survival, for building a competitive moat.
What about their fears? AI can sound complex, maybe risky.
You have to anticipate and address those fears head on. How will it integrate with their existing systems? Their ERP, their CRM, their factory floor PLCs. Emphasize ease of implementation, user-friendly interfaces. Show them they don't need a huge team of data scientists to get started.
Maybe suggest starting small.
Definitely. Offer pilot programs, proof of concepts, let them prove the value in their own environment before committing to a full rollout. That builds confidence.
Trust seems crucial too, especially with data involved.
Vital. Especially in regulated industries like healthcare or finance, they need to know you take data governance seriously, that your solution is compliant with regulations like HIPAA for patient data or GDPR for European customer data, and that your AI isn't a complete black box.
Explainable AI, being able to understand the why.
Exactly. Being able to provide some level of explanation for why the AI made a particular recommendation or prediction is increasingly important for trust and accountability. Showcasing security certifications like ISO 27001 also helps build that trust.
You mentioned the buying process is complex. Can you walk us through the typical B2B customer journey for adopting AI?
Sure. It's rarely a quick single decision. It typically involves multiple stages. First is awareness. They realize they have a problem, maybe hear about how AI could help, start doing initial research.
Okay.
Then comes evaluation. This is where they really dig in, compare different vendors, ask for demos, maybe run those pilots or proof of concepts we talked about. They'll likely involve an internal team to assess the options.
At the decision.
Right, the decision stage. They shortlist vendors, negotiate contracts. Crucially, this often involves getting approval from a cross-functional committee, people from the business side, IT, finance, sometimes even legal. It's not just one person signing off.
Makes sense. Then implementation.
Yep, implementation. The technical setup, integrating with existing systems, migrating data, and crucially, training the users who will actually work with the tool. Change management is key here.
And after it's installed.
Adoption. This is where the tool starts being used day to day, people get comfortable with it, and hopefully the business starts realizing the promised value. Monitoring key performance indicators, KPIs, is important here.
And finally,
Post-adoption. Ideally, this leads to loyalty, maybe expanding the use of the AI solution to other areas, and potentially the customer becoming an advocate for your solution. It's about building a long-term relationship, not just making a sale.
that proof of value stage sounds really critical, especially if budgets are tight.
It absolutely is. Offering tailored pilots, clear ROI calculators, customized for their specific situation that helps overcome the skepticism you often see reflected in online discussions about AI hype versus reality.
And remembering, it's usually multiple stakeholders involved in the decision.
Exactly. You can't just sell to the IT department or just to the operations manager. You often need a multi-threaded strategy, engaging different people with messages tailored to their concerns. Sometimes having an internal champion, maybe someone who can act as an AI translator, bridging the technical and business understanding, is invaluable. Marketing needs to cater to both sides too.
Okay, that's really helpful context on the sales and adoption process.
Mm-hmm.
Let's peek behind the curtain now at the technology itself. What kind of tech stacks are we talking about for these key use cases, and who are the main players offering these solutions? We don't need to get super technical, but a general idea helps.
Right. Understanding the components is useful. For predictive maintenance, for example, you obviously need ways to collect data from the machine's sensors for vibration, temperature, pressure, acoustics, current, voltage.
The inputs.
Exactly. Then you often need some processing power closer to the machine, what's called edge computing, to handle immediate analysis or filtering before sending data. Then secure data storage, often in the cloud using things like time series databases or data lakes.
And the brain. The AI part.
That's where AI and machine learning platforms come in, tools like Amazon SageMaker, Azure Machine Learning, Google's Vertex AI, or specialized industrial platforms like C3 AI or Siemens MindSphere. They run the algorithms supervised learning to predict failures based on past data, unsupervised learning to spot anomalies, time series analysis.
And you need to see the results.
Yep, so analytics and visualization tools like Power BI or Grafana are key. And crucially, integration with the existing maintenance management systems, the CMMS or EAM software, so that work orders get generated automatically. It needs to fit into their workflow.
Okay. What about pharma R&D? That sounds data intensive.
Hugely data intensive. The tech stack there needs to handle incredibly diverse data sources, genomic sequences, chemical structures, clinical trial data, research papers, real-world patient
All
evidence.
sorts of formats.
All sorts. So you need specialized AI platforms designed for life sciences, like those from in silico medicine or Recursion Pharmaceuticals. You use generative AI for designing new molecules, natural language processing, NLP, for analyzing scientific literature or regulatory documents, and often you need high-performance computing, HPC, for the complex simulations involved.
And the algorithms are different.
Often more complex deep learning models, things like convolutional neural nets, transformers plus reinforcement learning for optimizing molecules, and specific tools for automating parts of the regulatory process.
And for retail and supply chain, more focus on real-time data.
Definitely. Pulling together real-time data from point-of-sale systems, CRM, ERP, inventory databases, plus external feeds like competitor pricing, weather, social media.
Lots of integration.
Massive integration needs. The AML platforms often use popular libraries like TensorFlow or PyTorch within Python, alongside specialized forecasting algorithms like gradient boosting or LSTMs. You also see integration with financial planning, FP&A, or supply chain planning, SCP software from vendors like Anaplan, Blue Yonder, Oracle, or SAP. Cloud data warehouses are essential for handling the scale.
And explainability matters here too.
Increasingly, yes. Especially for pricing decisions, being able to explain why a price was set is important for trust and avoiding accusations of bias. Techniques like S-shape or LIME help with that.
So, looking at the providers, the competitive landscape, it's a mix.
It's definitely a mix. You have the big Cloud providers AWS, Azure, GCP, they offer the broad platforms, the underlying infrastructure, scalability, and large partner ecosystems. They're powerful foundations.
Microsoft seems particularly strong.
And Microsoft is doing very well, especially monetizing AI in healthcare and finance. Their Azure AI services and Copilot offerings are generating significant revenue, reportedly around a $5 billion run rate.
Then you have other types of players.
Yes. You have established enterprise software companies like SAP or Oracle integrating AI into their existing suites. You have specialized industrial IoT or AI platforms, C3 AI for complex apps, Siemens MindSphere or Sensei focusing heavily on manufacturing and PDM, claiming things like 3-month ROI or 50% downtime reduction.
And then the really focused specialists.
Exactly. Vendors who go deep on one specific problem. Think IBM Maximo for asset management with AI, Uptake, or Augury for machine health. In pharma, you have companies like In Silico Medicine, Recursion, Exscientia focusing purely on AI for drug discovery. In retail SCM, companies like Blue Yonder, Kinaxis for planning suites, or Daisy Intelligence for retail pricing, Cluedo 7 specializing in solutions on Google Cloud.
So businesses face a choice, platform versus point solution?
That's often the dilemma. Go with a broad platform from a hyperscaler that can potentially do many things but might require more internal effort and integration, or choose a specialized point solution that solves one problem really well but might create data silos if not integrated properly.
Is there a middle ground?
There's definitely an opportunity for what you might call platform-enabled point solutions, solutions that are focused like a point solution but built on the scalable infrastructure of a major platform, offering the best of both worlds.
And for those mid-sized businesses with maybe a $5K or $10 monthly budget, build versus buy.
For that budget, buying is often much more feasible. Going with a pre-packaged software as a service, SaaS offering, or a managed service from a vendor is usually more practical than trying to build and maintain complex AI systems in-house. So vendors offering solutions that are relatively easy to deploy and manage without requiring deep in-house AI expertise are well-positioned.
So key players range from the giants like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, IBM, SAP, down to many innovative specialized firms.
Exactly. Opportunities lie in addressing specific niche problems really effectively and offering user-friendly solutions, the threats. Fierce competition from the tech giants and navigating that complex, evolving regulatory landscape we talked about.
Right. Let's dive deeper into those practicalities of implementation. Readiness, regulation, ethics. These seem critical for success.
Absolutely critical. Navigating these well is often the difference between a successful AI project and one that fails or even causes harm.
Let's start with readiness. Are companies actually ready for this? Is their data good enough?
It really varies. Technical readiness isn't uniform at all. Many organizations are still in the early or middle stages of getting their data infrastructure mature enough for advanced AI. And data quality. It's absolutely paramount.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Precisely. Poor data quality is probably the single biggest reason AI projects fail to deliver value. You simply cannot build effective AI on bad data.
What does that look like in practice, in manufacturing?
In manufacturing, a big challenge is getting usable data out of older factory equipment PLCs, SCADA systems that wasn't really designed to share data easily. Often the data is unstructured, stuck in silos. Integrating that operational technology, OT data, with the IT systems is a major hurdle. For PDM, you need good historical maintenance logs, operational records, and reliable real-time sensor data. Building those data pipelines and ensuring data quality is job number one.
And in pharma, we have lots of data, but...
Lots of data, but again, often siloed across different research phases, clinical systems, patient records. Integrating these vast, diverse data sets is technically challenging, and data governance is absolutely critical because you're dealing with highly sensitive patient information under regulations like HIPAA and GDPR. Plus, you have to be constantly vigilant about potential bias hidden in historical clinical data, which could skew AI results and impact validity or fairness.
Retail and supply chain, what are their data challenges?
They need access to real-time data from multiple sources, POS systems, CRM, ERP, inventory management, plus external feeds. Integrating all of that, especially with older legacy systems that many retailers still rely on, can be complex. Cloud solutions often help here, providing a more flexible infrastructure to work around outdated on-premise systems.
Okay, so data readiness is step one. Then there's a regulatory maze. That sounds daunting.
It can be. The regulatory environment for AI is complex and it's evolving rapidly around the world. Regulations like the EU AI Act are trying to create a framework often based on risk levels.
High-risk AI, what does that include?
Under the EU AI Act, high-risk categories could include AI used in safety components of machinery, potentially some PDM applications, critical infrastructure, employment decisions, access to essential services, law enforcement, and possibly tools used in drug discovery or clinical trials.
And being high risk means?
It means more stringent obligations, things like rigorous risk management systems, strong data governance to check for bias, detailed documentation, transparency requirements, ensuring human oversight is possible, and undergoing conformity assessments. Companies deploying high-risk AI might also need to conduct fundamental rights impact assessments. The timelines for compliance are rolling out now through 2027.
What about specifically for pharma, FDA, EMA?
Yes, regulators like the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, and the European Medicines Agency, EMA, are actively developing frameworks for AI and machine learning used in drug development and as software as a medical device, SAMD.
What are they focusing on?
They're emphasizing things like data quality and integrity, rigorous validation of the AI models, transparency about how the models work, and assessment of potential bias. The FDA has draft guidance out on using AI in regulatory decision-making. The EMA published a reflection paper and recently gave its first positive opinion accepting AI-based analysis as evidence in a drug approval process. They're moving carefully but deliberately.
And overarching data privacy rules?
Those are always critical. API in the U.S. for protecting patient health information requires specific safeguards and agreements with vendors. GDPR in Europe has strict rules for handling any personal data of EU residents. Companies have to build compliance with these into their AI systems from the ground up.
We also mentioned data localization rules.
Yes, in some countries, like China, there are strict rules requiring certain types of data to stay within the country. India's new Data Privacy Act might also require copies of personal data to be kept in India, or critical data to only be processed there. This can create challenges for global collaboration and might push companies towards hybrid or private cloud models, but it could also boost domestic AI industries.
So navigating all this regulation requires staying informed and building compliance in from the start.
Absolutely. Compliance by design, robust data governance, and potentially seeking expert legal or regulatory advice is essential. You can't treat it as an afterthought.
Beyond the hard rules, there are the ethical imperatives. These seem just as important for long-term success and trust.
Crucial. You can be legally compliant but still face ethical challenges that erode trust. Algorithmic bias is a major one.
How does that manifest?
If the historical data used to train an AI reflects societal biases, racial, gender, socioeconomic adults, the AI can learn and even amplify those biases. In healthcare, this could lead to disparities in diagnosis or treatment recommendations. Think about risk calculators that might inadvertently disadvantage certain groups. In retail, it could lead to discriminatory dynamic pricing, sometimes called digital redlining.
How do you mitigate bias?
It requires conscious effort. Having diverse teams building and testing the AI helps. Using diverse and representative data sets is critical. Actively testing for fairness, using specialized tools, implementing explainable AI, XAI techniques to understand decisions, conducting regular audits, and always maintaining meaningful human oversight are key strategies.
Data privacy is an ethical issue too, not just legal.
Definitely. Even if technically compliant, the use of personal or sensitive data raises ethical concerns for many people. Best practices involve strong data governance, encryption, strict access controls, minimizing the data collected, anonymizing data where possible, and exploring privacy-preserving AI techniques like federated learning or differential privacy. Again, compliance by design is key.
And transparency, or the lack thereof,
Yeah.
the black box problem.
Yes, many complex AI models, especially deep learning ones, can be black boxes. It's hard even for the creators to know exactly why they reached a specific decision. This undermines trust and makes accountability difficult. XAI techniques, thorough documentation, and keeping a human in the loop for critical decisions can help address this.
Then there's the big one, the impact on the workforce. Job displacement fears are real.
They are, and it's a legitimate concern. The World Economic Forum estimated AI might displace around 85 million jobs globally by 2025, but also create 97 million new ones. So a net positive, but significant churn and disruption. About a quarter of jobs are expected to be disrupted by AI in the next 5 years.
Are some sectors impacted more than others?
Potentially. Some estimates suggest up to 30% of jobs in pharma could be at risk of automation over the next 15 years. In manufacturing and supply chain, roles are shifting away from repetitive tasks towards overseeing AI systems, troubleshooting, and complex problem solving. But new roles are emerging too. AML specialists, data analysts, cybersecurity experts focused on AI.
So skills are changing.
Massively. The essential skills now include technical literacy, understanding AI, big data, cloud platforms, but also, crucially, those uniquely human soft skills: analytical thinking, creative thinking, critical thinking, complex problem solving, collaboration, adaptability, and ethical reasoning.
Reskilling becomes vital then.
Absolutely imperative. Something like 77% of employers plan to prioritize reskilling their workforce to collaborate effectively with AI. Open communication with employees, providing accessible training programs, and framing AI as a tool for augmentation, not just replacement, are key to managing this transition ethically and effectively. There are also ethical concerns around using AI for workforce monitoring, privacy, surveillance, which require clear guidelines and transparency.
Can being ethical actually be a competitive advantage?
I think so, yes. Building ethical, trustworthy AI can be a powerful, unique selling proposition, USP, especially in sensitive sectors like healthcare or finance. Salesforce, for example, reported increased adoption of their pricing tools when they proactively addressed ethical concerns through internal review boards and bias audits. Customers value knowing that the tools they use are designed responsibly.
And data localization, while a regulatory hurdle, might also shape deployment strategies.
For sure, it's shaping how global companies deploy AI. It necessitates flexible deployment models, building local partnerships, and developing expertise in regional regulations. It could also create opportunities for AI solutions designed specifically for compliant cross-border data management.
Okay, we've covered the current landscape and implementation challenges. What about looking further ahead, beyond 2025, 2027? What are the big long-term trends?
Well, AI certainly isn't standing still. It's evolving incredibly rapidly. There are a few major paradigms emerging that will likely continue to reshape industries.
Such as?
One is the rise of what's called agentic AI.
Agentic AI, what's that?
Think of autonomous or semi-autonomous systems that can understand a goal you give them and then independently plan and execute a series of actions to achieve it. They might even collaborate with other AI agents or systems, all without constant human micromanagement.
So AI that can do things more independently.
Exactly. Deloitte predicts that by 2025, maybe a quarter of companies using generative AI will be piloting these kinds of autonomous agents, and perhaps half by 2027.
What could they be used for?
Lots of potential use cases. Handling complex customer support issues from start to finish, automating significant portions of cybersecurity work, maybe up to 90% of expert tasks, performing regulatory compliance checks automatically, streamlining complex business operations like procurement or marketing campaigns, even managing aspects of clinical trials like adapting protocols based on incoming data or managing risks.
The impact could be huge productivity gains.
Potentially massive productivity gains, yes, and the ability to tackle much more complex tasks. But it also raises significant new questions about governance, control, and accountability for these more autonomous systems.
Okay, agentic AI. What else is on the horizon? The big one. AGI.
Artificial general intelligence. Yes, that's the hypothetical future AI that possesses human-like cognitive abilities across a wide range of tasks, not just specialized in one area.
Still hypothetical, but people are working on it.
Intensely. While true AGI is still theoretical, the potential impact, if achieved, would be absolutely staggering. Imagine revolutionizing drug discovery down to weeks or months instead of years. Fully autonomous self-optimizing factories, unprecedented optimization of global supply chains, truly personalized medicine based on your unique biology, fully automated clinical trials.
When might that happen? Any predictions?
Timelines are highly speculative, of course, but progress in AI capabilities is accelerating rapidly. Some prominent researchers predict AGI could be possible sometime in the 2030s, maybe even by 2034, according to some forecasts. Some leading AI labs are even shifting their focus beyond AGI towards creating superintelligence.
But achieving AGI brings enormous challenges.
Profound ethical, societal, regulatory, and safety challenges. How do we ensure it's safe? How do we align its goals with human values? How do we manage the potential for massive economic and social disruption? These are huge, unanswered questions. Interestingly, there's this idea of the AGI preparedness paradox, meaning that our readiness for coping with potentially transformative future AI, like AGI, is largely built upon our success in developing, deploying, and governing the AI technologies we have today. Getting AI right now is practice for getting it right later.
Okay, AGI is the far horizon. What about more immediate long-term trends? Sustainability.
Yes, sustainable AI is becoming a critical issue. AI's energy footprint is growing significantly. Training these massive language models, for example, is incredibly energy intensive. One estimate suggested training BERT, an early large model, used about 1,500 kilowatts.
And the data centers.
The data centers needed to power AI could consume something like 3% to 4% of global electricity by 2026. And it's not just electricity. Cooling these massive data centers uses enormous amounts of water, with consumption rising sharply. Google reported a 20% increase in water usage recently, partly due to AI demands.
So there's a push for green AI.
Exactly. Two sides to this. First, strategies to reduce AI's own environmental footprint. Things like optimizing the AI models themselves to be smaller and more efficient techniques, like pruning or quantization, developing more energy-efficient hardware like new GPUs or specialized chips like TPUs, deploying AI more sustainably, maybe using green cloud providers or edge computing to reduce data transfer and cloud energy use, and operating data centers more efficiently, improving power usage effectiveness, PUE. Using better cooling, maybe even recycling waste heat.
And the other side, AI helping sustainability.
Yes, that's the paradox. While AI consumes energy, it's also proving to be a powerful tool for achieving sustainability goals across industries.
How so? In manufacturing?
In manufacturing, AI can optimize factory energy consumption, sometimes by up to 20%. It can reduce waste and scrap material by improving quality control. Predictive maintenance helps equipment run more efficiently, saving energy. AI can also streamline supply chains to reduce transportation emissions. Some studies suggest AI could cut energy use, waste, and carbon emissions in factories by 30% to 50%.
Supply chains too.
Definitely. Optimizing delivery routes reduces fuel consumption. Better demand forecasting prevents overproduction and waste. AI can help companies shift to more sustainable transportation modes and track complex Scope 3 emissions across their value chain.
And the energy sector itself.
AI is used there to optimize the integration of renewable energy sources into the grid, improve grid stability, perform predictive maintenance on energy infrastructure, and help track carbon emissions more accurately.
So green AI is both a challenge and an opportunity.
Absolutely. Rising energy costs and increasing regulatory pressure around emissions make energy-efficient AI solutions inherently more attractive. And being able to demonstrate that your AI solution either has a low footprint itself or actively contributes to your customers' sustainability goals is becoming a really strong selling point, a key USP. There's probably even a niche emerging for consultancies focused on green AI auditing and optimization.
Okay, so to wrap things up, bringing it all together from this deep dive.
And let's summarize.
It seems clear that between now and 2027, AI is making a really powerful impact where businesses face those urgent pain points we discussed.
Right. In manufacturing, tackling downtime and quality control. In healthcare and pharma, accelerating R&D and cutting that administrative burden. And in retail and supply chain, optimizing inventory, pricing, and logistics.
And in these specific areas, AI isn't just making incremental improvements. It's delivering dramatic, quantifiable ROI. Those 10x, 100x, sometimes even 300x plus returns we heard about.
Which makes it an indispensable investment for survival and growth, not just a nice-to-have tech project.
And we're seeing this investment concentrated in global hotspots in North America, parts of Asia-Pacific and Europe especially, where the conditions are right and businesses are willing to allocate significant budgets, that $5K plus monthly, for proven value.
Successfully navigating this, whether you're selling or buying AI, requires that laser focus on demonstrating quantifiable ROI, understanding that complex, multi-stakeholder customer journey, choosing the right technological approach platform versus point solution, build versus buy.
And practically addressing those key challenges around data quality, navigating the regulatory maze, ensuring ethical deployment, and managing the impact on the workforce. Those implementation details are critical.
Absolutely. And looking ahead, AI isn't static. We're seeing the rise of more autonomous agentic AI, pondering the long-term potential and risks of AGI, while needing to address immediate demands around sustainability and the evolving future of work right now.
So maybe a final thought to leave our listeners with. Considering how rapidly AI is creating this immense value, but also posing these complex challenges, bias, regulation, job disruption, energy use, how can businesses, and maybe individuals too, ensure that the relentless pursuit of high ROI doesn't outpace the necessary focus on building AI systems that are not just powerful and profitable,
but also responsible, transparent, reliable, and ultimately beneficial for society as a whole? How do we keep those things in balance?
And maybe what role do you, the listener, have in shaping that balance as this technology continues to unfold?